coming to our regular discussion. I definitely look forward to answering your questions. Before we start, let me just say that this has been a busy, in my view, productive beginning of the year for our government. Earlier this month, together with the other leaders of our country, we held our annual leadership retreat. And this important national exercise allows us to examine ourselves and many things we are doing and take corrective measures where necessary. I have had the pleasure and opportunity to carry out other duties recently. I had to attend the summit, the recent time CEO Africa Summit in London, and we continue to work on promoting Rwanda and in the wider context of Africa, especially calling on investors to take seriously Africa's readiness to do business with the world. And we are speaking of our own role in changing the lingering of the need for Africans to change the lingering negative perceptions of our continent. I've also met with many international delegations visiting Rwanda, and had the particular pleasure of meeting several groups of university students from abroad who continue to come here to learn firsthand the work we are doing together as Rwandans to rebuild our country. On the ongoing meeting of the East African Legislative Assembly in Kigali, as well as the CPGL consultations in Rubavu, also underscore our commitment to regional integration and productive collaboration with the different partner states. I'm sure you're also aware of the Commonwealth Media Workshop that has been taking place here in Rwanda. All these are things that are key to our development process. Of course, we are entering a period of commemoration of the genocide. We take time to remember and honor those who lost their lives and lost many other things, and join with survivors to preserve the truth of what happened in our country. This is an opportunity also to reflect on how far we have come as a nation at a time when there continues to be all sorts of misrepresentations about our history and different things about our country. So it's our duty as we move on and as we work to develop our country to put the record straight in many cases. And we have the pleasure to continue doing so. So on this note, I thank you and I invite your questions.
Kezio?
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. My name is Kezio Msoke. I represent Reuters. Your Excellency, before you've been a very big critic of the UN. You've been very consistent critic of ICC. You've also criticized Western democracies and economies which play double standards when it comes to African issues. This brings me to the question, Your Excellency, about your position on Libya. Don't you think your position is going to undermine your consistency, Your Excellency? The second part of the question, Gaddafi's lap green has investments in Rwanda.
But let me warn you from we should each confine ourselves to one or two questions. If you ask too many questions, one person, and as you see here, we are...
Your Excellency, actually this is kind of like related.
Right?
The second part is kind of like related.
Yeah, but
I'm going to make it very short.
Of the time.
Okay, thank you very much. Gaddafi's lap green has investments in Rwanda. That's like Mbano and Rwandatel. If he continues being defiant, do we see Rwanda freezing his assets in this country? Thank you very much.
All right. Well, first of all, I'm not sure what you know about my position. I don't know whether what you call my position is exactly my position, because I might be answering a question that right from the beginning is not clear. Do you know my position? Because you're talking about my position and possibly undermining what I have stated, but I'm not sure you understand my position.
From press reports, I think, Your Excellency, I do understand your position from what I've read.
Which one is it?
The Time.
Because, before I answer any contradiction that you are talking about, I have to be clear we are really talking about the same thing. But let me help you. My position on those issues you stated from the beginning has not changed if you consider what I have said and the context in which I have said it. Double standards? Oh yes, there have been double standards. And it's not just about or inconsistencies. They have been there. And it's not about what I read in the books, it's not about what I imagine, it's what I have lived. So, double standards, they have been there. So I don't know how that relates to my position. My position, I think you are talking about Libya, only that you are making me say things for you which you should have said. This is why I was saying I'm not sure you even understand what I said. I think you are referring to the issue of, first of all, the decision of the UN Security Council to establish a no-fly zone over Libya. And the different interpretations there have been, or statements made by different people about that situation. It's like, oh, why does UN decide to intervene in Libya when they did not intervene there or here? Are they going to do this the same way in other places, and so on and so forth? So there are two things here in my view, if I can separate them. One, about Libya and the UN decision and what is being done or will be done. In Libya, as I read it, as I see it, the problems as they started in Benghazi or what followed and before the no-fly zone and so on and so forth, seemingly was a Libyan matter. It's not, these people were accused of double standards that started the problem in Libya or in Benghazi. At least I'm not informed about it. These people, of course, are not the ones, if they did, maybe they did indirectly, but I don't think they are the ones who made Gaddafi stay in power for 42 years in his country, to the extent that maybe some of his people have grievances which they should express themselves or which they're expressing themselves. So to that extent, some of the things we are seeing are things that are born in the situation in Libya. They have nothing to do maybe with the outsiders, other than outsiders being associated with them at some point or another in the exercise of those double standards we are talking about. And when a situation like that develops, and there is a conflict between the people of a country and their leaders or government, there comes a point where a number of things happen or may not happen depending on the situation. One, there comes a point where people say, no, this is an internal matter. Leave it to them, they will sort it out. Then this may develop into another situation where people say, well, I think this is no longer just an internal matter. It has gone beyond what is an internal matter. It attracts attention of outsiders, the international community. Again, this creates a situation that invites now, invites people of double standards, or genuine people, or all kinds of people. They are invited by what is happening on the ground. So whether some people use it as a pretext, or others genuinely want to deal with it the way it should be dealt with, in support of other efforts internally taking place, this is a different matter. So I'm trying to make a separation of issues, to make a distinction, to make sure that people don't mix up issues. So if in a country like, by the way, our own country, when genocide was taking place, of course there were people who thought this was an internal matter, that the government or leaders had the right to kill their own people. It is their own people after all. Yeah, there are people who thought like that. When do you decide that this is a domestic matter and this is no longer a domestic matter? It's a matter that certainly invites people beyond the borders where such issues are happening.